In today's second episode of the Sports and Psychology Podcast, coming to you every Saturday morning, we are diving into a topic that every one of us athletes has fought with at one time or another, and that is how to get out of your head. We are going to jump into the first step towards finding flow and focusing during competition on what's important, and those are micro goals. This is valid for coaches, trainers, athletes of any age, and all of you casual sports fans out there looking to get a one-up on your buddies in that next YMCA run. Yeah, you know who you are. This is for you too. If you're looking to take ownership over your growth and your goals and set yourself up for success in your season, then you're right where you want to be. Hello, buenos dias, dobrý den, ohayo gozaimasu. Welcome to the Sports and Psychology Podcast, the weekly Saturday morning pod where we talk all things athletes, tactics, performance, and most importantly, mindset. I am your host, letting them three balls fly, Cord Thomas. I'm a mindset coach specializing in sports psychology, performance, stress and anxiety reduction, and mental preparation, having helped hundreds of clients and tens of professional athletes exceed their potential, reach their goals, and lead fulfilling lives. I'm recording today's pod right here out of my apartment in the beautiful Prague, Czech Republic. After becoming a two-time Taekwondo Junior Olympic medalist and moving out to Europe to study and play basketball, I really found my passion in the psychology of success. Before we hop into things, do me a favor, hit that follow button below the video or the pod to get updates on new episodes. And if you're here with me on YouTube, hit me with a like and a comment. I will respond to everyone that does. Thank you for helping others to see this by beating that algorithm. And thank you for making the Sports and Psychology Pod your first Saturday morning listen. If you want to reach out and connect with me personally, join in our mailbag episode, or give me your feedback, you can find me on Instagram at athlete.m1ndset, Twitter athlete_m1ndset, or email me at sportsandpsychologypod@gmail.com. Let's hop into things. I would love to jump right into Eurobasket, but holy Chelsea Gray. The Aces star is pulling up like she's been possessed by Stephen Curry. Steph Curry's not dead, but if he were a ghost, he would be possessing Chelsea Gray right now. There's been absolutely no fear to let the threes fly. Chelsea and Aja Wilson, the WNBA Defensive Player of the Year and this year's MVP, are both on an absolute tear. And with the Connecticut Sun winning against the Chicago Sky, the Aces might be the favorites right now to win the title just out of momentum. I do love a classic battle of fiery offense versus an absolute tank of a defense. This should be a finals for the ages. Definitely make sure that you are subscribed to some streaming service and are able to watch this great battle. Now, with the Seattle Storm losing, we do have to say goodbye to an absolute all-star legend and someone who leads and inspires athletes everywhere, male and female, and that is Sue Bird. Just so I can hammer this home, because many of my listeners may not be aware, but let me list just some of Sue Bird's accomplishments. 4-time WNBA champion, all-time WNBA assists leader, all-time WNBA leader in games started, never coming off the bench in her 18-year career, 12-time All-Star, 8-time All-WNBA, 5-time Olympic gold medalist with Team USA. Yeah, count the years, 5 times. 4 times world champion gold medalist, scored or assisted on 27.6% of all points in Seattle Storm history, including the 4 years before she joined the team. 2-time NCAA champion, that would be university in the US, and is engaged to football star and Olympian Megan Rapinoe, both of whom are strong advocates and great role models in the LGBTQ community. The WNBA will not be the same without her, and has been completely transformed over the years. And finally, just a little bit, the WNBA athletes are getting a tiny bit of the recognition they deserve. So from me and the Sports and Psychology Podcast, thank you, Sue Bird, for all your great, inspiring years spent in the WNBA and some of those in Europe and overseas. Okay, let's hop over to Eurobasket. On Sunday, I watched a great game between Turkey and Georgia that went to double overtime before something crazy happened. Georgia was up by 3 and was fouled to send them to the free throw line. At this point, the game was more or less lost for Turkey, but then their coach, Ergin Ataman, lost his cool and was called for double technicals and was disqualified, aka thrown out. Had to go back to the locker room, wasn't able to finish the last 30 seconds of the game. This ended up giving Georgia like 7 free throws in a row to seal the game. My beautiful psychologist wife used to enjoy saying that the most brittle thing in the world is a man's ego. That's exactly what happened here. Ataman's ego wasn't strong enough to handle the defeat. And so instead of fighting until the end, instead of keeping his head up high and saying, it's okay, we lost in his double overtime, when things looked lost, he just burned everything down, set fire and said, let it burn. If I can't win, then I'm going to ruin as much of this situation as I can. This kind of thinking or reaction tends to be very unfortunate, but natural to us humans. We fight until our brains start telling us that we can't win, at which point we set the world on fire. Think about this the next time you think about throwing the towel in and getting technicals, red cards, penalty minutes, or extra nonsensical fouls. It's your ego and your confidence that can't take the situation. You're choosing to let your pain and fear take over instead of standing strong in the face of adversity with a confidence that the next match or competition it will be different. Or with the self-respect that you've played a great game and it's okay to lose sometimes. Showing that you can keep your head in the game, not let your emotions take over in a negative way, shows that you are a strong, competent, confident human being. I told you last pod that I would be attending the Finland versus Serbia Eurobasket game here in Prague, and I did get to go at the O2 Arena. It was amazing for a non-expensive ticket, like nosebleed prices in the US, to be sitting basically as close to courtside as possible. It was a battle between Jokic and Markkanen, who was playing center. I never imagined Lauri Markkanen as a center, but he seems to have really put on some muscle and did better battling than I imagined. After Jokic bullied Markkanen a couple of times into easy buckets, Finland resorted to double teaming him, and Jokic's passing prowess showed out, flipping passes out of the double team to the opposite wing for easy three-point attempts by his teammates who are almost all good shooters, finding cutters going baseline for dunks. It was a masterclass. Jokic really surprised me with his size. He's a lot slimmer and fit than his pictures or how he looks on television. I think one of the main things that hurts the visuals is that he walks and sometimes runs as if he was 30 kilos heavier, sauntering side to side like a big bear rather than being strong and grounded. The strength, speed, and skillfulness, though, cannot be denied. Markkanen had quite a lot of success from 3, but already Finland was down by 20 in the second quarter. Something that fascinated me were the fans. The Serbians were, of course, doing their best to be loud and were maybe loudest whenever there was a dance break and the dancers came out onto the court, but I guess we can't expect fans to be overly excited when their team is winning by 30 for most of the game. In any case, the Finnish fans, on the other hand, were quite subdued, just a bit quiet most of the game. Then I literally watched as multiple Finnish fans went and shook the hands of Serbian fans to congratulate them. And then as soon as we were outside of the venue, as everyone got out, again, after losing by 30, the songs and cheers started. Loud, screaming Finnish fans. And it went on all the way home on the metro, another 30 minutes as they sang and jumped up and down and made the whole car jump. I've never seen fans so excited and loud after losing by 30 plus points. For me, mind-blowing, but it was a whole lot of fun. In football news, it's been reported that Brighton manager Graham Potter is set to take over for Thomas Tuchel, and has had great success so far in his career. Tuchel seemed to have high expectations for his team and wasn't able to connect with his team on a personal level. An old school manager only using the stick instead of the carrot, when today's players need more. There needs to be a personal connection, a love and a motivation to play together and for their coach. He's able to take the blame, but wasn't able to course correct. I think that something that would have helped most is a social and mental connect. He seemed in interviews only focused on the physical performance. That's ignoring maybe 80% of the game. Sometimes throwing his players completely under the bus during interviews, openly saying that if they can't get better players from the outside to replace their current ones, they will. This is all a bit tactless and shameful. Graham Potter found a love more for coaching and seems like a much more human or humane person for the job. In his Brighton interviews, he mentions caring for the people that are there as a starting point. I can't agree more in today's day and age with sports. Caring, nurturing who's on the team is what's going to bring the most and the best out of players. Not seeing them as performing robots as Tuchel made it sound a bit. I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens with Chelsea now that they have someone in charge willing to work with human beings, with human problems, instead of someone thinking that they can just put the right pieces in the right places and everything will work out without nurturing any connections. We are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking all things getting out of your way, out of your head, and focusing on micro goals. This is a friendly reminder to drink your water today. Did you know that an average male should be drinking 2.5 liters of pure, uncarbonated, and unflavored water every day? For you ladies out there, it should be 2. And if you're a top athlete or someone looking to lose weight, again, that number goes up. My approach to water drinking is to get in a 1/2 liter before my coffee in the morning and then another liter before lunch. After lunch, I just want to have a full bottle of water around me all the time. So instead of nervously snacking or picking up my phone, I'm going to reach for that water bottle instead. Drink your water, feel clean, replenish your blood supply, and be a healthier you. I chose today's topic as one of the maybe easiest and most beneficial things we can do for our sports career or journey. A couple years ago, I had a professional hockey player come to me and say that he knew he was much better than how he was playing. He had played in higher leagues, has the skills. When he's alone training, everything goes great. But during games, he acts timid, is so afraid of judgment from his coach, manager, 2,500 people in the stands or more, that he stopped being productive. And after every game, between games, his coach and manager were harder and harder on him because they knew that there was more in him, and that made him play worse and worse. He came to me hoping to find out how to get the coach and the manager to stop pressuring him anymore so that he could be relaxed and play his game. That's not quite how the sessions went, but the results definitely in the end turned out to prove that his manager and coach laid off of him. What I asked first is when he gets the puck during a game, what are his thoughts? He responded, "I can't make a mistake, otherwise I'm going to get yelled at. With every mistake, I'm going to be seen as not good enough and not get back up to the leagues I used to play in. If I turn the puck over, I'm not going to get a next contract. When I turn the puck over to the other team, my teammates are going to stop trusting me. More importantly, I don't trust myself enough not to make any mistakes, and so I freeze. Do something that no one can be mad at. Pass the puck backwards, don't lose the puck." Dear listeners, you can already see where the problem is. And so, what's the result of this type of thinking? I play worse and worse, timid, scared. I don't score points where I know I can. I'm in a constant fight with myself, where I know how I want to play, but my head isn't allowing me to. First of all, this is extremely common among athletes. We get into our heads, our thoughts, tense up, become timid, are afraid of being judged by others, and then we don't have the kind of results we know that we can. So when you get the puck, Mr. Hockey Player, what's your goal? Well, to not mess up, to not disappoint anyone, to make sure that whatever I do, the manager and coach aren't going to be angry at me. I hope, dear listener, that at this point you're pulling your hair out a bit. From the outside, this seems so obvious, but so many athletes fight with this issue. Can I focus on the now? Can I focus on what's important in the here and now? Or am I more focused on the long term and therefore making fear-based decisions? I said at this point, good, that's great noticing and awesome to see what your goal is now. But for us to have a correctly stated goal, it has to be positive. Not what we don't want, but what we do want. The hockey player thought for a second, and then light bulb. The goal when I get the puck is to score. Snap, crackle, light bulb. I've never seen anyone's eyes light up like in that moment. He literally realized that his main focus on the ice should be having his team score, no matter how that happens. Okay, Cord, so you're telling me that all I have to focus on is scoring? It's not quite that simple. We want to focus in on small goals in the given moment, which we'll get to in the third segment, how exactly that might look like. But instead of making decisions out of fear, we want to make decisions for something, take steps towards our goals instead of away from them, because fear is leading us. So when I get the puck, I'm thinking, how can I get my team to score best? How can I do that within the system that the coaches proposed? Or should I freestyle? Is the best approach to play risky or play it safe? Whatever gets us to the point of scoring. On defense, the single main goal should be to get the puck back without giving up the possession to allow the other team to score. Again, sounds simple, and using whatever path possible to make that happen. Risk when it's worth it, and the best option, and play it safe when we're in a vulnerable position. It's all about knowing what we want in any given moment and focusing in on that goal and letting the outside chatter, thoughts, and emotions come and go. They will be there. They will be there. And that's okay. What's more important is where we are going. Let me add a great tip here. As soon as you step on the field, court, rink, etc. as a player, you are the one in control. Yes, listener, you are the one in control. It's not your coach's responsibility anymore to control you and the game. You're the one holding your and part of your team's fate in your hands. What your coach or manager thinks or feels or how they want to control the game is purely just a want for control. It's your responsibility to make decisions and do your best. So stop looking for their approval. If you are doing the best you can to achieve the small goals, in between competitions you can work on small things to change how you get there. Once you're in competition, your job is to do the best you can to focus on that single goal of that moment. Score or get the puck or ball back so that you can score. Okay, cool. But sports is where I usually get out of my head and just enjoy myself, Cord. This doesn't sound like it's for me. I'm not a professional athlete, so how does this apply to me? Well, it applies in a lot of ways. A lot of my non-athlete clients come with the same issues. They want to do something well at school or at work, but the consideration of what their boss and their colleagues will think about their work gets in the way. At the end of the day, can you look yourself in the mirror and say you did what was needed to achieve the goal in your understanding of the goal? If yes, then you did absolutely everything you could. Can you learn and tweak things for next time? Absolutely. But being stuck, doing things indecisively, being timid and unsure about things just because you're scared of what others are going to think if you just do it to the best of your abilities isn't getting you anywhere closer to your goals. Move forward. Get closer to your goals. Learn and grow along the way. Make decisions from a place of how do I move forward, not how do I not make mistakes. It is that time again for me to talk about my services. If this podcast has given you something to think about already, then you should think about individual sessions with me. I work in person and online with clients daily to help them perform at their peak, to help them lower their stress and anxiety, focus on setting and meeting their goals, find career paths that they'll love, and to heal and repair relationships that have been neglected, including the one to themselves. You have the chance now to start individual work with me before winter rolls around and my schedule fills and there is a waiting list. Take a look at booking a session at coachingpraha.com, that is coachingpraha.com/book online. Or reach out to me directly on Instagram at athlete.m1ndset, Twitter athlete_m1ndset, or email me at sportsandpsychologypod@gmail.com. So what are micro goals then? I've introduced this term earlier in the podcast, but really haven't explained it yet. Micro goals are tiny goals of the moment. Tiny, minuscule, incremental goals that can flip and change 2, even 3 times in a second. Yes, in a second. I spent many years playing basketball, and so I'll use the basketball shell man-to-man defense as an example. That's where you have 5 people playing defense and moving around based on where the ball is in comparison to the man they are defending. Most youth, especially, learn the shell and think that the whole purpose is to be in the right position. When the ball's on the far side of the court, I have to stand in the middle. When it's one pass away, I'm in position to deny my man the pass. And when my man has the ball, the person I'm defending has the ball, I'm going to push them middle or baseline depending on the team's scheme. This is all somewhat true, that I need to be in position. But the entire purpose behind these positions is to stop the opponent from scoring. So when I'm playing help defense, I'm going to watch to see if I need to help over. And otherwise, I'm looking for any way I can to steal the ball. When I'm in denial, I'm guarding against a backdoor cut and looking to stop any passes to the person I'm guarding. If I'm on ball, then I'm doing anything I can to get the ball back or make a shot or pass as tough as possible. And as the ball swings around the perimeter of the court, we see our micro goals of the moment very quickly changing. If we can have in our head a singular focus on the micro goal, then we see a boost in absolutely everything we're doing. Imagine just having that goal. How can I help my team score right now? I'm going to move. I'm going to screen, set screens. I'm going to get open. I'm going to rebound, because that is the micro goal of the moment. We're not so concerned with how we look, with what other people think. We're doing the best that we can. I see this as extremely valuable to coaches and trainers as well. There's a tendency to focus on big picture, on winning the game. That's important to know the big goal, but we get there by accomplishing the micro goals. So if a coach, trainer, or manager during a competition can have micro goals for themselves, such as, let's stop this player who's hurting us, or let's get better at rebounding and focus in more on that, or let's push the pace because the other team isn't getting back fast enough on defense, then we have much better clarity for the team, something everyone can focus on, instead of a vagueness of, let's go and win, let's try hard, and let's do everything we should. That's really hard to focus on. But heck yeah, I can focus on going and getting a rebound. Back to my client, the professional hockey player. Already we were on the right track, and the next game he put in 3 points for his team, a goal and 2 assists. Huge change in comparison to the first 4 or 5 games of the season. The best game he had had all season. My next big question for him was what happens in his head when he goes to the bench. The answer? I analyze what I did on the ice. I look at everything that happened and try to figure out how I can do better the next time. The actual result of this? He became detached from his teammates and the game actually happening on the ice. On top of that, he was beating himself up for every mistake he made. I asked him, as an older player who should be in a leadership role on his team, what should his goal be while he's on the bench? The first answer? Make sure that when I come in next time, I'm better than the first time I was out on the ice. To be honest, that caught me off guard. That surprised me. I hadn't heard that response before. So I asked differently. What would help your teammates the most while you're on the bench? Yet again, mind blown. He hadn't ever thought about this question. If he's not on the ice, he can't help his teammates, right? How do I help my teammates while I'm on the bench? He came up with the answer to encourage them, have conversations with his rotation on the sideline, on small tweaks or encouraging statements he could make, and notice the other team's tactics. Wow, what a great idea. Instead of ruminating on my play, let me encourage and help my teammates that are on the ice now. And by that, start noticing how I can play better, be a leader, and keep my head in the game rather than detaching. This athlete who's an introvert actually became confident in himself enough to take players aside after practices and games to have small conversations on how they can improve, or just to support them. That's the power of having a positively set micro goal. So don't just look at micro goals on the court. We can look at them during training in terms of what to work on in that given moment, how to get better, how to support our teammates, or anything else that allows us to focus on having the work we put in training shine. And the negative or unhelpful thoughts stay where they are and not overtake our actions. Wait. So are you telling me that things are just as simple as to focus on a single in-the-moment micro goal, and after 2 sessions all your clients' issues were solved? No. No, I'm not. Definitely not. But it's a great start. There are other tactics, tools, and techniques that allow us to focus better, get into flow, and feel better about ourselves, making it easier to focus for sure. Again, this is a great place to start though. And if you're struggling to set micro goals, go back and listen to last week's episode on off-season planning. The larger plans will allow us to set micro goals even better. Because we have that larger vision and longer term goals set, the micro goals become automatic in terms of this is how I reach the larger goals by focusing in on these certain things. Set micro goals. Focus in on the moment, on every possession, on every half a second action while you're playing your sport. You'll get more out of yourself. And simply put, you'll be able to focus instead of being in your head. The most paralyzing thing for an athlete is indecisiveness. Take this struggle away by focusing in on your micro goal. Thank you for listening to the Sports and Psychology podcast or watching here on YouTube. Please tell your friends if you like this podcast and if you think that they'd benefit from it. I'm streaming every Saturday morning everywhere you can find podcasts as well as on YouTube. If you want to get your questions into a mailbag or give me your thoughts, give me a comment below on YouTube or reach out on Instagram at athlete.m1ndset, Twitter athlete_m1ndset, or email at sportsandpsychologypod@gmail.com. Do me a favor, hit that like and subscribe button below. And remember, we want to make decisions from a place of how do I move forward, not how do I not make mistakes. Have a great weekend, everyone. Talk to you next weekend.